Qualifying has been decided for the Rolex 24 Hours in 2024. It's time to welcome you back as we get ready for 4 practice sessions before the green flag flies on Saturday for the Rolex 24 at Daytona.
Live from trackside, this is IMSA Radio.
Hello everybody and welcome to the second practice session for the 2024 Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona. Let's cross over then trackside and join IMSA Radio as we get ready for another 1 hour and 45 minutes of practice.
The afternoon at Daytona International Speedway, early part of the season 2024, looking to be bigger, brighter, better, more loud, more Larry, quicker. We've already started breaking qualifying lap records at the Raw before the Rolex 24 last Sunday. What is the rest of the season going to be like? Fast is the answer to that. Coming up, we've got another 1 hour and 45 minutes of practice session. Remember, we've set the grid for the 62nd running of the Daytona, the Rolex 24 at Daytona already. So it's about finding the balance for the 24 hours on Saturday into Sunday. And the next free practice session for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship is live from Daytona.
The WeatherTech Sports Car Championship on IMSA Radio.
Let's head straight down to the pit lane where our CrowdStrike pit reporter Shay Adam is waiting for us in an afternoon that certainly from the booth. Now that the sun's gone over a little bit, it's a lot less warm in the booth. 27 Celsius in the air, 37 on the track. That's 99 Fahrenheit on the track, 81 in the air. Little bit of cloud covers cooled down the track a little bit, Shay, but with 72% humidity, it's still an endurance, even just for 1 hour 45 minutes for these drivers and teams.
Well, I'm so glad it's gotten a little less warm in the booth because it's gotten a lot more warm down here on the pit lane.
It was a sauna in the morning. But it was like I felt like a fly or an ant that somebody was putting a magnifying glass onto earlier on.
Well, so here's the amazing thing. As I was walking down the pit lane this morning, I was getting that as the sun was reflecting off the windows from where you were on specific spots on the pit lane where you would walk through a patch of sunshine and all of a sudden feel like, ooh, that's burning me. That's not exactly pleasant. So that feeling was reflected, literally, on the pit lane as well. But now it's just warm. The cloud cover is very nice. That does make a tangible difference to the pit lane. But this is the session that always confuses everybody because it's the split session. So for the start, the first 15 minutes, LMP2 and GTD only. For the last 15 minutes of the session, GTP and GTD Pro only. So we need to watch out for the number panels and make sure that all the colors line up and nobody's trying to sneak out in the wrong session. It no longer matters which drivers are behind the wheels. I'm looking at Scott McLaughlin in the number 8 Tower Motorsports LMP2, and we've got Malte Jakobsen in the 04 CrowdStrike by APR, that car. So Malte, who didn't drive in the last session, even though that car was the fastest, those two very, very much professional drivers as far as the driver lineups are concerned for P2, as well as a slew of GTD cars ready to take the green flag of this session. But those two cars in the fast lane, everybody else came to their boxes. Not a problem in this session. It's not qualifying. And I won't have to bring that up again this weekend because we've now finished all of our qualifying. So yay for that. But this is going to be a very action-packed session because once we get the okay, 59 cars on track together for about, an hour and 15 worth of running on the track.
Thank you, Shay. Our BDO pit lane reporter. Our CrowdStrike pit lane reporter in WSC. And thank you to both CrowdStrike and BDO for stepping in for the support of our pit lane reports over this 2024 season. We still will have the BDO Knows Strategy Award. And, of course, in Michelin, we'll have our Michelin moment of the race. They continue into 2024. green flag, and Paul de Resta has jumped out early. That is going to be a penalty for the 22. That's United Autosport. They should know better than that. They've raced here before on a number of occasions. And maybe Paul de Resta just a little bit too excited to be back in the series.
And Billy Glavin is kind of team principal there for the Andretti Autosports USA. He was
United Autosports.
What did I say?
Andretti
Autosports, beg your pardon. United Autosports USA. And who've run periodically here in the past, and for years now, Richard Dean and Zach Banner wanted to put together a full-time program. They've done that. They've been running 2 cars in LMP2 all the way through this season. And Billy Glavin, who for the last couple of years has really impressed with his own Junior 3 racing team in LMP3 competition, both in the Prototype Challenge, as it was, and last year the VP Racing Sports Car Challenge. So Billy's going to be running that program. And
where are they based, Jeremy?
Mooresville.
Oh yes, that's right.
Charlotte.
Of course, I should have remembered that. And that's where United have based their US operation, haven't they?
Yeah, and Jim Maguire, whose Entrotech company developed the Aero sustainable paint wrap systems that are used by many cars, has also come on board as the management of that team as well. He's stepping out of the cockpit for a while, is Jim.
He's taken part in ownership of the team, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So
big step for him. And really super enthusiast is Jim Maguire. Really cool guy, and I know he's going to miss driving, but he was one of several drivers that had a big shunt in a P2 car last year and suffered some back problems.
ELMS last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's done that for the last couple of years.
Hasn't been able to get back into the cockpit after that. Big supporter of Team USA down through the years as well.
Yeah.
Which you've got to say thank you very much for that. Sean Creech Motorsport back with the Stars and Stripes livery on there. At number 33, Nolan Siegel behind that car. LMP2 car. Slightly changed that. It's Andy Blackmore livery. Andy, as ever, working really hard. I think he said the last time I swapped some text with him, I think he said he'd drawn 105 cars for this week. He's getting a bit sick of it. For this event. Yeah, for this event. For the Spotters Guide.
Designed them all, but hasn't designed always. Designed a good proportion.
Oh, he's got a good proportion of the cars, but he's done the Spotters Guide for this week, which is well over 100 cars. The original version came out on Tuesday. He'll be doing the revisions as he sees any little changes to what's going on at the moment. Nolan Siegel having a bit of a scrap on the track with the flex box number 81 down into the Le Mans chicane, and James Allen for Dragon Speed in that Orica just nips through, but now Nolan will drop into the aero wash in the big hole in the air through turns 3 and 4. These LMP2s, they are absolutely outstanding. I think we're going to have some great racing. We've got them as a headliner, of course, at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. IMSA having to work out which of their resources they can use at which circuit, depending on how big the pit lanes are, how big the paddocks are. They've been able to give the LMP2s their headline spot north of the border. Number 20 is the Motul sponsored red, white and black high class racing car.
Well, MDK
by high class.
Yeah,
indeed.
so
Lawrence Herr behind the wheel of that car.
Yeah, collaboration between Mark Kwame's team and Dennis Anderson's high class racing.
First times coming in. What did we see earlier on, Jeremy? What was the top times for LMP2s?
This morning,
139.407 for Toby Sowry, which echoing what Jeremy said earlier on, great stuff to see Toby getting an opportunity in a prototype. He's showed some good pace in single seaters in the Indy Lights and in the NXT as it's now known. So yeah, good strong performance there, and a great lineup in that CrowdStrike car.
Was it 39?
139.407.
The fastest qualifying time was a brilliant effort by Ben Keating in the number 2 car for United Autosports USA. 138.5 for Ben, taking advantage of those cool conditions on Sunday afternoon. The lap record for LMP2 was actually set by James Allen back in 2019, since when they've been trimmed back in terms of power quite considerably. 135.9 was that mark, but Ben Keating's pole time last year was a 140.5, so he went 2 seconds quicker this year, Ben Keating did, than 1 year ago. Was surprised how fast he went in qualifying on Sunday, and he was even more amazed when he saw the time chart at the end of that session, and saw that Nick Bull was only about was almost exactly just 1/10 of a second behind him in second place into Europol by PR1 Motorsports.
And James Allen, as mentioned, has just gone to the top with a 140.070. We'll digest that as we head for a CrowdStrike pit report.
With Manny Franco for the first time on IMSA Radio. Manny, you're a guy who knows Ferraris very well, having raced them for the last couple of years. You've even raced Ferraris at Daytona before, but not in multi-class racing and not in the 24-hour. What's the hardest thing to try and adapt to with all this new going on?
Of course, it's going to be the traffic. The traffic is going to be the most difficult thing to adapt to kind of be driving while looking at your mirrors, at your cameras, and that to me is the most difficult. You have to kind of just glance at it as quickly as you can, make out that image, and see what route you can take to avoid traffic. So.
With 3 great drivers sharing the Conquest Ferrari with you, Alessandro Balzan, Albert Costa, and Cedric Sturz-Wally, how much of a sponge have you been through all of this?
Oh, I'm going to be the biggest sponge I possibly can to try to get as much information as I can from the 3 of them. Of course, any corner, the way they put down power, the way they brake, anything that shows me, that a faster time, I'm going to try to absorb and learn and ask them for advice on just about anything, really. Even temperature is something that we talk about.
What part of the race are you most looking forward to? Your first 24-hour?
Oh, of course, the start. The start's going to be the most entertaining. It's just that anxiety, the tenseness that you're going to get before the race start, to just start the race. That's all gone. It's game time. You have your game face on, and all those emotions kind of just start slowly draining away, and every single hour you get more and more and more and more comfortable, I'm sure. So.
When you raced here in Ferrari Challenge, it was the night race, wasn't it? So you've been around here under the lights before.
Yeah, no, first time here, driving at nighttime, I believe, was here for me, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I only imagine doing a 24 after that day. But to me, nighttime's actually kind of fun. It's more relaxing, and it's kind of easier to be able to tell if there's a car approaching you with the headlights.
A lot of people talk about at night you can smell the smells too, like the hamburgers and the hot dogs in the infield. So you got that to look forward to as well.
Oh, for sure. I was staring at that Italian sausage that they got down in the infield, and I remember being here for Ferrari Challenge at Daytona. I had a couple of them, and maybe I shouldn't have. I definitely haven't had one right now, but I'm looking forward to it once this race is done and once my session's done.
Hopefully when the race is done, you got a shiny new watch on your wrist. Good luck this weekend.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So he's going to be sharing that number 34 Conquest Racing Ferrari with 3 very, very experienced drivers. Alessandro Balzan, who is a former champion in GTD. Albert Costa from Spain, who's a lot of experience in all sorts of different GT3 cars, particularly Lamborghinis, but Ferrari relatively new for him. And Cedric Sturz-Wally, who's another Lamborghini stalwart. He's going to be sharing that Ferrari with Manny Franco. And Manny, it's great to hear that enthusiasm now. He's got to feel almost like he's won the lottery to be here at Daytona. Oh, wait. He did win the lottery. That's why he's here at Daytona. Very cool. Cool story, that. And Manny, he's quite a driver. Over the last few years, had pretty much no experience prior to that life-changing experience. And doing, as you said there, like a sponge, just soaking up all the knowledge and expertise of those people around him. And he's developing into a pretty useful driver. He could be a bit of a dark horse when we come through to the race. I think he's going to be surprising a few people.
It's a good lineup there. Albert
Absolutely.
Costa, winner of the Le Mans 24 Hours LMP2 last last year. And Alessandro Balzan, what an experience he has. Funnily enough, before winning a Rolex watch for his 2013 title, he actually never really wore a watch. He was never really interested, but as soon as he put that Rolex chronograph on his wrist, he's like, oh, I like this, and he's been hooked ever since.
Yeah. Gosh, hard to believe it's more than 10 years since he won this race.
Yeah.
2 times a champion in 2016 and 17. Alessandro Balzan was sort of kind of out of the series for a few years, but I know he's enthusiastic about getting back again for a full-time ride this year.
Adam, our CrowdStrike pit reporter, did a great interview with him at the Roar weekend.
Who was that you talking about? Balzan?
Alessandro Balzan, yeah.
Balzan's not won this race.
No, he's won the championship.
No,
he won the watch for his championship.
Yeah.
10 years ago,
yeah. It's the only big race out here that he's not won. He's been around for everything else.
Yeah, he's won championships,
yeah.
Yeah, his best finish here is a 4th in class. 7 starts previously in the Rolex 24 at Daytona for Alessandro Balzan.
Last year's winner, James Allen, who put together one of the most dramatic finishes to a 24-hour race you'll ever see. If you've not seen it, go back to the archive and watch it and listen to us. 139.6 his best at the moment. Just 4/10 off that is an IMSA debutant, a certain Felipe Massa, former Formula One driver. But get this, it's not actually his multi-class sports car debut, which I found fascinating. He actually competed in the 2001 24 Hours of Sicily in an Alfa Romeo 147. So he's not completely green on multi-class sports car racing, but almost.
Who's that, sorry?
Felipe Massa.
And he did the Abu Dhabi 6 hours at the weekend, I think. Did he? He was certainly there.
Oh, he's been practicing.
He's one of the rookies here this year in this race, and surprisingly, out of the 228 drivers that are scheduled to drive in the race at the weekend, there's only 22 rookies this year. Last year there were 44 rookies in this race, so that I thought was kind of interesting. The fewest number of rookies over the years, apart from obviously the first year, was 15. That was in 2020, in the various classes, there's only one Daytona rookie in the GTP field. That's Jensen Button. There's the only ones in GTD Pro are Neil Verhagenhagen and Lauren Heinrich. Verhagen's driving number 1 car, of course, with the defending champion, series champion team, Paul Miller Racing. It's BMW. He's a full factory driver now, and been a junior team driver for the last few years. Great to see Neil Verhagen get that opportunity. And Heinrich, who's got a lot of experience in GT3 Porsches, in particular Super Cup, and the Carrera Cup Germany champion, making his debut as well. He's made one start previously over here. That was in the Porsche Carrera Cup a couple of years ago, where he was... Actually, that was the year before the Carrera Cup started, wasn't it? I think it was the final year of GT3, and he was absolutely stellar at Michelin Raceway in Road Atlanta. Won very impressively.
He's won the virtual version of this race twice. Lauren Heinrich's a wonder. He's a really nice person, and he's developed his career. He went through karting single seaters, but when he couldn't get the opportunities to keep moving up the ladder, he really lent on virtual motorsport, and his progression has been very much powered by his ability in the sim. He's not necessarily a pure sim racer who's come over to outdoor racing. It's definitely been a combination of the two.
James Allen's just gone quicker, 139.497. I was wrong, by the way. I've just realised why I saw Felipe Massa on Sunday. That's because I saw him here when I was doing the call for the... It just happened I was in Abu Dhabi when I saw him. He wasn't. So I've just...
Fair mistake.
I've just realised it's been a long few weeks. Lots to do in time zones. But no jet lag, which is good. We've got an hour and 30 minutes to go. It's a lovely early afternoon here. What are we, nearly 7:30 in the UK, 8:30 in Europe. And that will be, 11:30 in Dubai, where they're getting ready for the 24 hours this weekend as well. Lots of people tweeting in at us asking about coverage. Yes, there will be coverage of that. And the good news is a goodly proportion of that before we even get up here and get thinking about this race. Time zones for once can work for us, particularly for those of you who are ahead in time. So for those of you in Australia, great opportunity to watch the opening 9 hours, 10 hours or so before we even get into our countdown to green here at Daytona. Our Michelin countdown to green with Shea on the grid. Porsche keys to the race, and Jeremy will run down the field as well. That's all on Saturday before the start of the race, and we'll wind up the weekend as always with the original listener or audience-based show, Michelin post-race tech. And the pro classes been given the green flag whilst I was in the middle of that sentence.
Unleash the pros.
Yeah, the big dogs.
Play the Jaws music.
There was a big rumble as they all pulled out, even those that start on electric power. Who have we got in the crowd strike car at the moment? That's Malte Jacobsen. He's taking no prisoners whatsoever, and in fact carving through, goes past the into Europol car. He's just gone past the number 10 from the Wayne Taylor Racing. They've got hot tyres, these LMP2s, whereas the cars coming out the pits don't, and that was noticeable there. As Malte was wiggling his way through, Ricky Taylor had to avoid him as he was trying to... Actually, that's not fair. Didn't have to avoid him. He had to take a couple of turns to come up onto the banking at turn 6 because Malte was just so much quicker. He arrived there at a huge amount of speed. This is something we'll see right across the weekend. It's not forecast to be anywhere near as cold as the last couple of years on Saturday night into Sunday morning. Remember, we had it so cold that Michelin brought a special tyre that worked better in the cold conditions that was only allowed to be used in the night time and early hours of the morning. That's not going to be like that this year. It's going to be a wee bit warmer, but still coming out on unheated tyres. And when I say unheated tyres, they are unheated. You're not allowed to put them... We're not just talking about not putting tyre blankets on them. You're not allowed to put them into tyre ovens. And IMSA are very, very careful and are watching what's going on behind the pit lane easy ups themselves.
Are you allowed to leave them in the sun? Or is that a grey area?
You are.
I've seen in rallies drivers with their hire car with the heater on full blast with the tyres in the back seat of the hire car.
I don't think that would be allowed.
No.
In the WEC, when it isn't allowed, and it isn't allowed now, and it looks like it's not going to be allowed at Le Mans either this year. Decision was taken. There are specific places in pit lane where you can put your tyres, and everybody has a spot so that no team who've got a more sunny pit have an advantage, because it's a world championship and everybody has to be the same, and people would moan. You know what it'd be like, but they moan that they haven't got tyre warmers anyway. So
Felipe Massa 0.04 of a second ahead of Paul di Resta.
Yeah, but Mathieu Jaminet...
Have we teleported back to the 2008-2009 Formula 1 World Championship?
And to the top of the timing screen, Mathieu Jaminet for Porsche Penske Motorsport with a 36.405 ahead of Nick Yellowly for BMW M Team RLL. Nick was kind enough to give me some time out of a busy couple of days testing at Spa towards the end of last year, when some of the American RLL drivers went to help evaluate the BMW M Hybrid V8 for Vincent Voss's WRT team. Had a cracking couple of days. Thank you very much indeed to Vincent and to BMW for inviting us on a really nice road trip for that. And the fruits of our labour are available to listen to. Inside Story, Anatomy of a Shakedown, search for that on radio-show.co.uk. And Shay Adam has some news from the pits where not everything smells right.
No, it definitely didn't. For the 45 Lamborghini, the WTR Andretti Lamborghini, that one has just gotten going once again. But that's when I noticed that Bosie was standing back by the 14 Lexus holding a door. The passenger door is off of this car, the defending GTD Pro champion. Jack Hawksworth is aboard. Nate and Travis are well within the cockpit of the car. That's why Bosie has the door off so that they can get more access. Looks like they had to change out the battery, actually. They've got the box off the cover. Now they're tightening down a new one, trying to make sure that everything is good on this car so that Jack can get out on the racetrack. Minor detail, if you can't fire the car by yourself, that's not exactly the good thing. But they're almost done with the work here. But so far, they've missed about 5 minutes worth of running. Jack's going to try and make up for that.
Shay Adam, our crowd strike pit lane reporter. So the GTP cycling to the front, 7 of the 10 ahead of the LMP2s, which are led by Dragon Speed. And Eric Lux has just been plugged into that number 81 car. Then Massa, DeResta, Nico Peño. The two United cars locked together there. Barely a third of a tenth between them. Then Malte Jacobsen for CrowdStrike in the 04 red and white Oreca. Lawrence Hurt for MDK by High Class in the red, white and black. Number 20. In GTT, the GTT and GTT Pros are still out there. Klaus Bachler for MDK in the Porsche 992. The number 86 car leads that from Dennis Olsen for Proton in the Mustang GT3 by... Dennis Olsen has been around the block a bit with VAG and did some Lamborghini and some Porsche, and now driving a Ford, .040 back. Then it's Nicky Team for Magnus Aston, and there are 9 GTDs ahead of the GTD Pros which have just gone out. I noticed this the other day, and rightly somebody sort of not pulled me up on it but questioned me on it. In qualifying at the weekend, the GTD crude cars seem to get their faster times quicker earlier in the session, should I say, than the GTD Pros. And I don't know whether it's a different, I suppose it must be, a different approach to warming up the Michelin tyres that the GTD Pros are. Maybe it's a difference in setup because, of course, the cars are absolutely similar. It's Alexander Rossi for Pfaff Motorsport McLaren who was quickest ahead of Tommy Milner for Corvette Racing by Pratt Miller. Again, half a tenth away between first and second there in the Pros. That, despite it being called Corvette Racing by Pratt Miller, we have to make the point, and we've been asked to make the point, that that is a factory-supported team now rather than a factory team. So a little bit of a change there as Corvette Racing as a factory team ceased to be with the end of the GT Le Mans, the GTE programme in the World Championship last year. Back to Shay for a CrowdStrike update.
Down in BMW world with Jesse Krohn. Jesse, you've won this race in a GT car. How different is it when you're in GTP and passing everything?
Well, you always want to be the fastest car out there. Obviously, you're making the decisions where to pass the slower cars. So there's obviously a lot to learn for myself, but I've been in the middle class of GTLM, so I've been passing cars and I've been passed. So I sort of have the best of both worlds, and it's super nice to be in the top class.
What was it like when you got the phone call saying they wanted you in the top class?
I can't even describe the feeling. I mean, this has been the dream. I think every single driver wants to be fighting for overall victories. And when I got the call, I was just over the moon, and I can't believe I'm here.
Which track are you most excited to go to in the top class?
I think Laguna Seca will be fast with the resurface. I think that's going to be a good one. And always I like Road Atlanta. So yeah, those two are going to be probably the highlights of the year.
You won the Rolex back in 2020. Do you ever wear that watch?
Yeah, all the time, because I always said, like, even if I lost everything and I would end up in the gutter, I would be wearing my Rolex in the gutter. I'm never going to get rid of that watch, and I'm always going to have that, so might as well wear it.
So what would you do with the second one?
Also keep it, but haven't made the plans yet. First I got to earn it.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
What a brilliant answer. What a brilliant answer. Worth a lot of money, but nah, I'm sorry. I might be begging on the streets, but I'm going to have me Rolex winner's watch on my wrist. I like that. It's cool. It's great to have that young man back. Very good indeed. Another quick lap by Mathieu Jaminet. 1:35. It's Nasser who's got the top now. 35.724. So Felipe Nasser up from 7th in the Porsche 963 from Porsche Penske Motorsport.
Everyone's turning the wick up here. We thought they were being fairly conservative in this first practice this morning, but my goodness, now well into the 35s. 35.7 for Nasser in the Porsche, likewise for the Cadillac of Jack Aitken. That's the pole-sitting car 31 for Whelen Engineering. Then just a tenth of a second back to the second of the Porsches, Mathieu Jaminet, who I'm reliably informed makes a great carbonara. So maybe he's looking after the mechanics in the Porsche Penske pit with his carbonara.
Bit too carby.
And if he hasn't, they'll be asking for it now. Sorry, Matthew.
Bit too carby for me. New tyres and of the sticker variety for Matteo Cairoli in the 6-0. That was full fuel though on that car. It's a bit of an oddity to maybe just to get a feel of a start of a run on cold tyres for the Iron Lynx Lamborghini. It was Romain Grosjean who brought that car into the pit lane. Mirko Bortolotti has just taken out the sister car, the number 19 car.
Quite a different picture in GTD, John, because we saw the Porsche and the Ford Mustang struggling quite a lot this morning, and not so this afternoon. Klaus Bachler fastest in the MDK car, the number 86, and Corey Lewis in the Ford Mustang GT3. That's the Proton competition car. It looks absolutely superb in this sort of light, almost like a turquoise blue. The first Ford sponsored car. It's a really nice machine, and that was Dennis Olsen that set that fastest lap. Corey's into the car now, 1:47.085, so just 0.04 of a second between our top two in GTD.
Jimmy Brownie in the Proton competition Mustang sampling Porsche. It's the car that was damaged at the weekend, Neil Janney, but it's clearly been rebuilt to the satisfaction of the drivers. Porsche 1-2 then with 0.030 of a second between Porsche Penske Motorsport and Proton competition. Then another 3 100ths of a second back to Jack Aitken. Jeremy.
Yeah, I've got a question for you, John. Look out of the window directly, pretty much almost directly opposite us is the Sun Energy 1 Mercedes.
Yeah.
What colour do you call that?
I'd say that was chrome orange with blue and yellow highlights.
Orange. Okay, thank you.
Surface of the sun.
It's always that car always looks fabulous. Always slightly different. Kind of got flames on the coming out of the grille front on the top of the nose.
Yeah, it looks fabulous, and it always has red lights behind the grille as well. Don't think it's on fire when you see it in the evening time. Just ahead of that on pit lane is the yellow and green Inter Europol car. In very much similar colours to what it has been. The yellow's a slightly different colour, and there's a couple of stripes on the honking great fin in the middle of the car. But what I've noticed is that's now a satin finish rather than a gloss finish. I have no clue whether that makes any difference to how it cuts through the air, but it's just it has a slightly different finish to it. It's not shiny at all, and that just changes the way the car looks.
Didn't the Konica Minolta team, when they run into GPI cars, start off with a matte finish and then change it
to gloss
because
they felt it didn't make a difference.
A gnat's whisker quicker.
Well,
hey, anything you can gain.
Well,
anything's a gain. Yeah,
it's all. See, there's a question, and I don't know the answer. So, IMSA technical and WEC technical. So Simon and Thierry, I need to know the answer. When you benchmark the cars in the wind tunnel, do they have livery on or not?
Unlikely.
Or do you do them in bare carbon?
Probably the latter, I'd say.
Yeah.
Question.
I had never thought of that until that very moment. I'm going to ask.
Do you want to get the question asked on the pit lane of some of these team managers, principals, or whatever in GTP as to why their opinion on shifting from 3 drivers per car, which has been a norm over the last several years in the top category, to 4. In the Pro-Am classes, i.e. GTD and LMP2, you have to run 4 drivers as you drive a lineup for the race. But in the Pro categories, GTD Pro and GTP, you have the choice. And say, recent years, definitely the majority have been 3 drivers. This year, all except the defending series champion team, Whelen Engineering Cadillac, are running with 4 drivers.
Sportscar 365 did a story on the Whelen team, why they are the kind of standout team doing 3 drivers. Apparently, what they said in that article was that that's the Le Mans rule, and when they went to Le Mans with 3 drivers, that seemed to work really well for them, and then they just basically taken that strategy, taken that approach, and it means the drivers do get more seat time.
But I want to hear from the team owners why the other teams have made that switch.
There's definitely 2 strings of thought, because with 4, obviously, you can rest the drivers more in the race. It's horses for courses, I guess.
Projected this morning that the mental energy has been exerted with these very sophisticated cars and complicated cars is.
Adam asked a few of those questions in her Road to Daytona, the I-95 collection, over the weekends of the Raw. And what you got pretty much a similar answer from everybody who asked.
Yeah, I'm straight up asked Pippa Durrani, what's the thinking behind 3 drivers versus 4, because everybody else is running 4 and you guys are the only running 3 as far as the Whelen Engineering Cadillac was concerned. And he basically said, well, there's not a lot of track time as far as practice is concerned. The tire allocation means that you're not going to run the entire time, which we saw this morning. We didn't see that car sitting on the pit lane. And he said, we had a good thing at Le Mans, so yeah, the 3-driver thing does make sense, but also they don't want anyone to feel like they're going into the race kind of wedged into the car, like they haven't had enough time. This way, everybody gets an adequate amount of running before we get into the race. So next year, it will be mandatory for 4 drivers in all of the classes, but for this year, they still think there's an advantage having 3 drivers who know the car completely very well, not going into the race with any question marks about how the car will handle at any point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. That has been a philosophy over the last several years. I'm just curious to get the other perspective, which is the change from 3 to 4.
At one stage, you could have 5 here.
Oh,
I think you still can have 5.
You can have 6 or 7 if you wanted to back in the old days.
I think you can still have 5 here and 4 at Sebring within the rules. Or is it a max of 4 here now as well, Shea, is it?
Yes, it is. Maximum 4 drivers at Daytona, maximum 3 drivers in all the other endurance races.
Including Sebring?
Correct.
Got back down to 3 for that?
Correct.
Right, because there was a time when it was 5 here and 4 at Sebring.
I think they did away with that in 2017. That was the last time we had a 5-driver lineup.
Yeah.
It would become quite difficult to get the minimum driver times in if you have too many, because that's where it can become slightly challenging. 4.5 hours is the minimum driver times for a 24-hour race. It's when you've got 4 in the team, you've got to be pretty tactical on how you spread that out.
I think you were going to say 4.5 drivers is the optimum.
I'm sure there's some drivers who think, well, I'm a driver and a half because I'm so fast.
I remember one of the first times I came here, maybe it was in between when I'd done it, because we did this race first in the Grand Am days, and we were the first people to do the full 24 hours there. And then I was on site, and I was sitting with Jamie McMurray and Dario Franchitti. They were driving together that year. And they were bemoaning the long safety car periods. And I said, well, look, you can have 5 drivers or whatever it was. Why don't you just have someone, me, as soon as you know there's going to be a long safety car, put Hindhoff in, he'll potter around at 80 k's or whatever, he'll not be any quicker than anybody else, he'll not be any slower than anybody else, he won't moan about being cooled in the car, won't moan about anything else, and then if you win the race, I still get me Rolex then.
Chip didn't phone you, I take it? No, never mind.
Good,
excellent
put it out
try,
there.
though. Yeah, no, you got to
put it out there.
Excellent try. Speaking of speedy Scots, looks like Ryan Diel's popping into the Era
Nice
Motorsport
segue
LMP2, which has got, it's always run a beautiful blue and white livery, which of course is, I think it's more by accident that those are the Scottish colours, but it's got a bit of purple at the back of it now, which kind of looks like a nice Scottish thistle. So they're obviously making sure they're keeping Ryan at
Saltire
home.
and the thistle.
They've even brought one of the team has brought him some Iron Brew too, so he's fully.
And it's Burns night tonight.
Well,
yeah,
there you go.
I'm very, very disappointed that I haven't been able to find a decent haggis. Tatties and neeps, not so much of a problem, but a decent haggis here is quite difficult to find.
You never know; they might have it at catering tonight. In fact, is haggis still illegal in the US?
Illegal?
It certainly used to be.
Did it? Was it?
Yeah, no. It's
even free range haggis, not. I mean, farmed haggis, was farmed haggis not legal in the States?
Pass.
You know, I
pass. I'm pretty sure it used to be.
Now you're a man of Perth now, so Halls of Perth is a pretty good haggis, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
McSween's in Edinburgh. He always used to be one of my. I did a big deal with McSween's for Burns Night many years ago. With, do you remember Gillespie's Scottish Stout? Is that still around when you would might be a bit
possibly before my time?
Yeah, it was a Scottish and Newcastle version.
My dad worked for them.
Yep. Well, I did indirectly for many years, but I kept the shareholders going nicely for very many years. Either side of that, yeah, did it. I never had to buy my lunch. Haggis, tackies, and neeps pie, Scottish pie, open top pie, my lunch. Did them a lot of business at McSween's up on the far side of the Meadows. Number 3 Corvette still missing. That car had problems this morning, didn't it? Shea Adam. Wasn't it the 3 that went behind the wall and then came out later this morning?
It was, and I did get an answer from Ryan Smith on that car. They double-checked everything. There was something with the seating connection that was giving them a little bit of issue, but it was able to be easily rectified, and the car sent back out before the end of that session. So, not sure why the car isn't out right now, but I am seeing a lot of people patient on the pit lane, I think it should be said. There's a lot of tire conservation going on right now, guys.
The spread of the dancing ants on the screen in front of me is extraordinary. I don't think there's more than a few yards. It basically is a full speedway and infield at the moment. Livetiming.alcamelsystems.com, and you can get that. You can get the live timing as well. Follow along as we do in the broadcast booth.
Spike the Orica is the 80 number 99 car has had its tail taken off, and his I suppose Spike is a he. I've put myself in a big spot here. The tail of Spike, thank you. And the AO crew are investigating the Gibson B8, the beating Derbyshire heart of that dragon.
The number 20 having a cracking battle again. This is Lawrence Hur, and that looks to be Ben Keating in the other United Autosports car, the number 2. Yes, it is in the Wins car. Wins and Mission Foods car. Notice with that, their low-carb wraps are fabulous for somebody who doesn't eat a lot of carbs, you see. So
we had some great tacos with them when we were in California, didn't we, with the rings?
That's very good, yeah. Carol and Kevin, that's right. Well remembered. Well, it was Carol that put us onto them, and they're now available in the UK. So they are a little staple standby, just in case you come in and you want a wee bit of snackage. Still an hour and 5 minutes of this session to go, and this is not the end of the action today. We've got some Whelen Mazda MX-5 racing to come, as well as one of my favourite sessions of the evening. Of the week, should I say, the evening practice into the darkness. And I have to say, we are very fortunate here up in the Global Broadcast Centre. And when the lights come on, this huge field, I can't wait for that tonight. And we will have the Mazda race, by the way, in sound and vision, whether you're here in the States or further afield. IMSA.tv. Race have got it on their channel as well. We've got it on IMSA Radio, the live video feed there, which does expand to full screen, and you can cast from there as well. All the options on the right click or on the band underneath. It's imsaradio.com. Click the hamburger on the top left, and then the first option is live video.
Jimmy Bruni up to third. Lappy said a little moment ago, 135.754. That's in one of the privately entered Porsches in the Proton Competition 963, running the Mustang sampling colours that are very well known here in IMSA. Great to see them back. And that car, well, you mentioned diecasts earlier on, John. I wouldn't be surprised to see a diecast of this, because black and gold just looks superb.
I'm indebted to the Europol competition, who are obviously listening in. And thank you. The colour scheme for the Europol competition Orica LMP2 actually changed at Le Mans last year to the matte finish, and it's worked great since then.
That worked quite well.
Yeah, it was fairly successful there, wasn't it, at Circuit de la Sarthe? Do you know what? I have to say, I hadn't noticed that then. It must be something to do with the difference in light here. And I was at Bahrain as well, so I should have noticed it at Bahrain as well. But it really, it's popping in the pit lane. It is right opposite us as well. Quite a lot of work been going on. I was talking about that with the number 65 Mustang, which seems to have been in the pits for quite a while. They're filling it with fuel at the moment, and its team car has come in, the number 64, as they sit with the 65 is further down the pit lane, if that makes sense. So as I look at it, it's 65-64, if that makes sense, as they're coming through the pit lane. It was Harry Tinknell who's just brought the 64 car in for Ford Multiclass Motorsports. And the 65, he says...
Joey Hand.
It was Joey Hand, was it? Right, okay. Thank you, Jeremy.
Great to see Joey and Dirk Muller back together as one of the greatest pairings in sports car history, in my opinion. Had a great chat with Dirk yesterday on Midweek Motorsport, and you just forget how far his career stretches back. He won the GT1 class here at the Rolex 24 in 1998.
Oh, in the Porsche?
With certain Alan McNish, Esquire, Danny Sullivan and Uwe Alls.
McNish still has a gripe about that wet race. Why?
Well, they didn't win overall. I would think that's the first part of it.
Yes. It was, in those days, the class winners didn't get a watch. I think it might have even been the last year that the class winners didn't get a watch, because Robin Liddell won in class and did get his watch, and McNish has never stopped about that he didn't get the watch for the class win in 98. If somebody at IMSA Radio, see if it was 99 when they started.
Would he have got one for winning Le Mans that year, though?
That's a good question.
Probably.
That is a good question.
It's amazing how the attention that this new Ford Mustang program has got, both from the externally but internally too. When after I spoke to Dirk, I said, so what else have you got on today? And he said, I'm actually just heading off to an event now with Edsel Ford.
As you do.
So the Ford family, are really fully engaged and interested in the success of this program. So there is quite a lot of pressure on, but if anyone can handle it, it's Joey and Dirk and the rest of the Multimatic crew. They've got Frederick Vervisch in for the Rolex 24, who's a signing from Audi Sport. Great signing, I'd say.
Trying to keep up with the Twitter at IMSA Radio at the moment. Thank you for all of the kind words. David Raleigh, Sam Holgood, Alan Space, Lorenzo Mangano as well. Some new names being drawn into following IMSA this year. Great debut season for the GTP cars, and being followed up with additional entries this year. More customer cars from Porsche. Still the only manufacturer to make customer cars available. I know you'll shout Ferrari at me, but sorry, that's not a customer car. It might be funded in a slightly different way, but essentially with a Ferrari factory driver and the Ferrari factory team running it, it might be Robert Kubica's sponsor who is paying the bills, but certainly that looks and smells and sounds to me like a factory car. Ifeye jumping across into that as well, from being a Porsche Asia Pacific supported driver.
We've seen in the past at Le Mans, and indeed here at the Rolex 24, where you maybe have the two works cars where all the attention is on, and then you've maybe got a wild card car that maybe flies under the radar. Look at 2015 at Le Mans with the 919 hybrid. Nobody really expected El Bamba, Nico Hulkenberg and Nick Tandy to win, but they did in convincing fashion. So you never know when the World Endurance Championship season kicks off.
I wonder when we'll see some of the other manufacturers roll out cars for potential customer teams. You'd think Ferrari, Ferrari have got plenty of customers in GT to satisfy, far too many in fact. We were talking about this, weren't we, on the drive up from Miami on Tuesday evening. And in the exceptionally comfy BMW X1.
So much so I fell asleep. I don't normally fall asleep in cars.
You fell asleep? You were sound, mate.
Was I?
Yeah.
I hope I wasn't snoring.
I would think about a good 40 minutes, maybe a bit more. Hang on. You weren't snoring, but it's not like you didn't plan it. You pulled your cap down over your eyes at one stage.
I just, for me to actually drop off in a car is saying something. So what does that say? It must be a comfortable car.
And a very smooth driver.
Cruise control has an amazing impact on the driving experience.
I had Joe Bradley asleep in the back of a Porsche Cayenne when we were in the United Arab Emirates last week, after I'd picked him up from Dubai Airport on the way to Abu Dhabi, and Bradley falls asleep at the drop of a gear stick. He has travel narcolepsy, and I just kept moving the car slightly left to right so that his head was bouncing from one side to another. He was sitting in the back behind me, and when we got to the hotel later on, and he was saying, I must have been sitting funny on the plane. I haven't half got. There's a very famous story in our circles about Bradley coming to Le Mans with me in the front seat of an Audi back in the days when it wasn't all péage, which is probably not for telling here, but yes, I was told by the responsible adult to knock it off immediately. Got about 5 minutes of it, just gently rolling his head backwards and forwards. Nick Damon, who was sitting in the front, knew exactly what was happening. Those two are on the way. The guys heading towards us, be landing across at DAB in a little while, joining the Happy Band for the weekend. To join in with Miss Shea, our CrowdStrike pit lane team getting ready. Let's head to Shea now, who's got Russell Ward from Winward Racing.
Well, Russell, I don't want to get too political, but is your Mercedes a bit more comfortable to drive now than it was at the Roar?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels pretty good. I mean, I think IMSA made some good changes with the BOP that came out yesterday, and you know, it's actually a pleasure to drive. And now I feel like we can keep with the rest of the field. So you know, looking forward to getting to the race.
You're only one of two driver lineups in the GTD class where all the drivers have already won this race. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You brought back the same three guys to drive with you who did it last year. Does it feel like you're just continuing on the progress that you made in 2023?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, one of the new things for this year is the new compounded tire, and it's quite a bit different than the previous Michelin. It has a much higher peak, I think, and you know, you can get a lot out of the car in the first couple of laps, and then I think it has a bigger drop than the previous tire. So a lot of adaptations that are thrown at us this year, and you know, but we had some good testing. We were at the BOP test here earlier or later in 2023, and you know, I feel like we got a lot of good data on the tire, and I think we're starting to learn it as drivers as well.
Winward is always a team that's very smart about what sessions you guys run. You never go out in morning warm-up. You do your fuel drops. You practice your driver changes. Do you already have the run plan? Do you know going into the race because your race car is good?
You know, I mean, we don't know the full run plan. I mean, we do know that I think I'll start because, you know, I'm the only one who's ever done it. I don't think the rest of the three know how to start a race. So, you know, it'll definitely be me. But, you know, it's all about the basics and execution here. You know, that's what we really focus on, making sure the fuel drops are good, the tire changes are good, and the driver changes are good. So, you know, all the guys were here over the past. You know, some drivers not here, you know, going out. But, you know, all of us were here and practicing, you know, driver changes and, you know, really just focusing on the basics.
What would you do with the second Rolex?
You know, I mean, you got two hands, so why not?
Love it. Good luck, Russell.
Thank you.
That was our CrowdStrike pit reporter Shea Adam with Russell Ward, and side-by-side racing out on the circuits. Not racing.
Urgent. How long is to go in this race?
Tom Tillman chasing down Ben Keating.
They were banging doors going through turn 1 last time around, literally.
Yeah, Ben
number
Handley.
2 and number 15.
As a Ben, is it?
And Tom Tillman, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Not Ben Keating.
Ben Handley made it's coming through ready or not kind of thing. Wow. Watch the
they were
satin
side by
paintwork
side
on the
all the way down,
interior.
all the way through the tri-oval into turn 1, and then they were literally bouncing off each other going through turn 1.
And also,
there's still, we've still got how long?
Just
48 hours before the start of the race.
Yeah, true. 54 minutes of this session, and they will run to the end of the 54 minutes that we have remaining. The non-pro cars, the GTD cars, will be flagged off, and the LMP2s will be flagged off with 15 minutes to go.
what was curious watching it, the United Autosports car number 2, with the chasing into Europol car, even with the into Europol car in behind in the draft, the United Autosports car is pulling away. Now, it might be that the United car's on maybe a little bit fresher tyre and got a better run out of the Le Mans chicane, but I think it's more likely that,
Because Dillman was very quick on the
their fastest in the session.
And they're very quick in, it seems, in this trim at the moment, dragging up behind the Ranch 74 machine of Felipe Massa, the Riley, as I look down the inside. Tom Tillman looking to be able to take any racing line he wants at the moment on the infield, through the kink, down towards the far end of the circuit from us at the western end of the infield. I tell you what, this is a far more nuanced circuit than people give it credit for, you know.
Totally agree.
Side by side, coming into turn 6. Oh, big dive down the inside.
Felipe
goes down the inside of one of the Ferraris, one of the red Ferraris. I think that was the AF Corsa car, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, car 21, AF
The
Corsa
stripes on
GTD.
it.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Looks really good. Here comes the Europol car again. We'll go to Shea in a moment for a CrowdStrike pit update through the Le Mans chicane. Are they catching that GTP car? That hasn't just gone past them. Here's Tillman down to the low side in turns 3 and 4 on the oval. Hugs the white line, the double yellow line, excuse me. And immediately we get a little bit of drafting.
I think the into Europol car's running more downforce.
I do.
Or running a steeper wing angle.
Yeah, I agree.
To make it a little bit better in the infield and giving up a little bit on the straight. But go and ask Ben Handley how it feels to be nipped at the line in the last lap of the race. Purely, and so it's a really tough balance, because you want the car that's going to really run the lap time consistently, but you also need a car that can win that drag race to the line. Crazy thought, but that's how tight it can be in LMP2.
Shea Adam has the answer to a question we've been wondering about for a wee while.
I have not done the investigating myself, but I've asked people who know. Spike is a he.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I think just breathe a sigh of relief there.
I don't know how we find that out on a fire-breathing dragon, but I'm not going to try it. Somebody else can
take your word for it.
Work that one out. Different colours of the flames? I don't know. Really don't. Renger van der Zande with or at least the Cadillac 01 with the best time, 1:35.670 from Porsche 963. Number 7, that's one of the PPM, the Porsche Penske Motorsports cars. Half a tenth of a second. Another third of a tenth further back is Jimmy Bruni's brought on competition Mustang sampling Porsche 963. And then another third of a tenth back, Whelen Engineering Cadillac for, it's Tom Blomqvist at the moment. I might as well keep going, because there's another half a tenth back. It's the other Porsche Penske Motorsports car. Matthias Yamaner brought that in the pits, number 6. So the top 5 then separated by 0.16 of a second. Now, Jeremy likes nice close times. Are you happy with 0.16 of a second for half of the GTP field?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, he's a tough taskmaster, is Shaw.
Yeah, that's about right. I mean, we've come to expect that, haven't we? And we've been spoiled over the last 12 months with this GTP category, with the 4 different manufacturers and a 5th one, of course, joining in for Sebring.
Oh yeah,
Lamborghini ordered that as well, and it's really cool to see how closely matched these manufacturers seem to be.
I do wonder if Acura right now in the GTP category might be a little bit concerned. I don't know if that's the right word, but they're certainly.
No, they are.
Yeah, I could imagine, because their fastest car right now, the time set by Ricky Taylor in the number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti, 136.4. That's 7/10 off the top. Yeah. And the sister car set by Colton Herta is 1.1 seconds off the top. Now, in the past, you might have thought, okay, well, they're not too far away, but right now, when you see how close everyone else is, you think,
yeah, I mean, this is just, we don't know what they're running now. This is just practice. Qualifying's already taken place, so it's all race prep. It's not. There's nothing really, I think, definitive that we can see in this particular session or in any of either of the 3 sessions today. But I think it showed it in qualifying a bit last weekend also.
And the Roar.
If you look at
and the Roar too, that pattern is the same pattern.
If you look at obviously, these cars have been developed now over the course of 1 year. You compare the BOP now to 1 year ago. The Cadillac weighs the same as it did 1 year ago. The Porsche, the BMW is just 1 kilo heavier than it was. The Porsche is 21 kilos and times 2.2, by the way, to get into pounds, heavier than it was 1 year ago. The Acura is 42 kilograms heavier than it was a year ago. That's more than 85 pounds. That's a chunk. Okay, yes, the Acura was definitely the fastest car year.
Well, last year. Yeah.
But that's a chunk of extra weight to be carrying around.
But I thought, also, if you looked at the race last year, on restarts, the Acuras were fantastic, and off the corners they had great acceleration, but on a very long run of green flag running, the Cadillac was excellent. Right. When we had that 6-hour long run of green flag before Johnny Palmer cursed it, we had Cadillac going into a real lead with the 0-1 car. So it's really interesting. But aren't we talking such fine margins for cars that have completely different powertrains? Yes, the electrics are the same effectively with the MG UK and Bosch unit, etc. But the internal combustion engines are so different to one another. A 2.4 heavily turbocharged V6 in the Acura, then you've got a big naturally aspirated 5.5 litre V8 in the Cadillac. You've got an engine in the Porsche which started life 18 years ago. Yeah. In the RS Spiders of 3.4, then it got moved up in capacity, went in the 918 Spider road car, and then up again.
Structure's the same.
There's maybe the same block.
Not as if they're using the blocks from back.
Maybe not exactly.
No, but the architecture is the same.
The architecture is the same.
They haven't had to redesign that, but the back 2 turbos on it as well.
Yeah, it's
as BMW have done with their big V8 as well.
It's a Class 1 DTM engine they started with. Yeah.
I think it's interesting how...
Isn't that amazing?
I think it's very interesting how the major manufacturers have, gone about this, whether they've designed something specifically or whether they've repurposed designs that they've had from the past. That might have saved Porsche a little bit, but my goodness, they've spent it elsewhere in what they've been doing. I did hear somebody say that it probably would have been cheaper for them to build a complete new prototype from the ground up, and in fact, of course, that's what Lamborghini have done. That they've gone for a complete rebuild instead of taking the family chassis. The original plan would have been to have Audi and Lamborghini running the same chassis, and potentially, certainly with Audi, the same engine as Porsche are running here, and of course we know that hasn't happened. So Porsche happy, I think, to get some customer cars out the door, rather more than we might have expected this early in in a programme. And certainly, I think, rather more than Roger Penske was expecting to be fighting against with his team. But that's there's a solid business reason for that, Peter.
Well, you look at
Porsche Motorsport have always had a business edge to them.
Of course they have. And you look back to the original GTP era. What was the car that defined that era? Well, I personally, I would say it was the 962 Porsche, and they were raced by so many different teams all around the world, and dominated this race right here at the Rolex 24 for so many years. So it's I do think the opportunity for teams, private teams who have got the bravery to take it on, I think it's just fantastic.
At IMSA Radio, if you'd like to get in touch with us, your thoughts on where we are in sports car racing, what this year might hold as we head towards the first of the Michelin Endurance Cup long distance races for IMSA. 5 of those this year, of course, with the addition of the long race at Indianapolis, the 6-hour race on the Sunday. Looking forward to that immensely. Had a trip to Indianapolis a couple of seasons ago with Porsche for their Porsche Together festival. My first trip to Indianapolis. My goodness, what a place that is. Smell the history. 31 Wayland Cadillac. Tom Blomqvist behind the wheel of that car. 4th position at the moment on 35.788. Just 0.118 of a second away. That's my grandfather's old collar number. Southern Borough Police Force 118. Bizarrely, my dad was... sorry, that was my dad's. My grandfather was 113. Through the chicane on the Le Mans deviation. Oh! And not stellar rejoin there. 23 Heart of Racing Aston had to avoid, I think that's the 22 United Autosport LMP2 with Daniel Goldberg behind the wheel. Yeah, it was. And that got a bit unnecessary there, Peter, as he overran the Le Mans corners and went through the tyre chicane. I think he's supposed to stop there and wait to be waved on by the marshals.
It certainly used to be that was the case. I haven't heard of that changing.
It wasn't so much that he kept going, it was the fact that he dropped back down and didn't stay up on the wall. And that was avoiding action that had to be taken there by the Heart of Racing number 23 Aston.
We've still got this LMP2 practice race going on between Ben Hanley and
anybody,
anyone who wants to come and have a go. Tom Dillman, actually. So Tom Dillman's gone. He's returned the favour, albeit in slightly more polite fashion, it must be said. He did give a little bit more than a paper's width of room.
The Triazi dark red metallic Lamborghini having a bit of a battle with the Ferrari with the Lamborghini. That's the yellow Iron Lynx car as they go through the Le Mans chicane. Also in there, Sun Energy 1 Mercedes AMG. It's all getting a bit feisty all of a sudden, this, with 41 minutes to go for the pro cars. Take 15 minutes off that for the non-pros.
That's Car 6's Claudio Schiavone, one of the owners of Iron Lynx in the yellow Lamborghini.
Knows how to pedal.
Yeah, and running in the GTD Pro class, so a bit like Kenny Habul, who's just in front of him in the Sun Energy 1 Mercedes AMG. They're both drivers who don't make their prime living from racing, and they are taking part right amongst all the pros. Oh, problem for the number 9 Faf McLaren. It's pulled up at a stop on circuit.
It's an outlap, I think, isn't it, for Oliver Jarvis?
It's just coming out of the kink, coming towards the Western Horseshoe. Hopefully he's not run out of fuel like James Hinchcliffe did earlier.
He's just left the pit lane.
Oh.
That's Ollie Jarvis behind the wheel of that car, and he literally has just left the pit lane. He's trying to refire the McLaren V8, which he does. So the driveway.com Faf McLaren is running again. Manufacture change for those guys in the off-season.
Yeah, of course, the FAF group up in Canada, they have dealerships for all sorts of different manufacturers. So we in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship are used to seeing that name associated with the Porsche brand, but the history of McLaren goes back quite a ways in any case, and this was just a better fit for them moving forward. They've certainly got aspirations, FAF Motorsports, to moving into GTP at some stage. Porsche, of course, is already there. McLaren is not, but does that how many do 2 and 2 add up to?
Jeremy, I thought you said you didn't get involved in gossip.
I don't. That's why I asked you.
They keep talking about it, and I certainly think this might be a slightly controversial view, but I think the talk about it, in my view, the talk about it was enough to get them into the WEC with the GT cars. The potential of a hypercar from McLaren. The story goes that it would be a Multimatic chassis for the McLaren. That they would use the Porsche chassis because there's an amount of time that you have to make it available to other manufacturers. And in fact, we've got, obviously, Dallara have got 2 manufacturers already, haven't they, with BMW and GM with Cadillac. I think that was a pretty smart move by Zak Brown to get the GT cars to Le Mans. I have real reservations about the way that's all been done. I don't know what the answer is, because there's not enough space on the WEC grid to give Audi and AMG a space as well, and they should have had spaces. There's no doubt about it. You can't have a World Championship without the 2 of the most successful manufacturers of the moment. I'm afraid it just doesn't make any sense. And at Le Mans, you might have the situation where someone has got qualified through Asian Le Mans Series, perhaps, where both of those manufacturers still compete very successfully. You might have a situation where an AMG or Audi team get qualified for an automatic entry for Le Mans and then can't take the manufacturer's car that they've been campaigning. I think that's bonkers. I really do. The answer, I don't know, because, as I say, there's not enough space on the grid for everybody in WEC. What do you do at Le Mans? I'd have 16 Camaro ZL1s at Le Mans, and the rest of the grid is LMP2s and prototypes. Spin for the Motul supported number 18, the purple car.
Dwight Merriman, the car owner, just at the International Horseshoe. Got back
7th in P2.
No harm and no foul. The Proton Competition GTP team, that's the Mustang sampling car 5. Jimmy Bruni just came in. No tyres changed. Full tank of fuel. He's done 29 laps already in this practice session. Filled it up with fuel, and they've just gone straight back out again. So clearly, Proton Competition working on that double stint. We're not in the absolute prime heat of the day, but we're not far off it. So interesting work there from Proton Competition.
And having won the LMP2 class, of course, last year in preparation for the step up into GTP.
That's a very good point.
How could we forget?
Let's head to CrowdStrike pit lane reporter Shea Adam, who is eschewed the pit lane for a moment. I'm just watching the number 4 Chevrolet Corvette come in for Pratt Miller. There's a big gap behind it where the 3 should be, Shea.
And we will not be seeing the 3 for the remainder of this session. There is no urgency going on at Corvette Racing by Pratt Miller Motorsport. They are working in the back of the car once again. So this is the 3rd session where they have spent time dedicated in that region of the car, but this looks different than the last 2. There are 4 mechanics that are actively working, although there is some music going on in the garage, so there's a good atmosphere, although I think that's track-supplied music more so than Corvette-supplied music. And they are taking their time. So I'm not seeing any reason that car should be out before the end of this session.
Bodywork off the car, so they're working in the engine area, shared down on the number 3 car.
They're working on the back of the car,
oh,
yes.
Hang on. The number 4's just had the engine cover taken off as well, and we've got a mechanic leaning in to both sides of the engine now.
Let me come snoop on that, make my way back out to the pit lane. But there's no real urgency, as if this isn't something that will be easily rectified. Meanwhile, the number 12 Lexus has been rolled backwards into its garage, and the 27 Heart of Racing Aston Martin has driven into the garage. Oh. So there are several cars that are now deciding that this session is well and truly done for them. There's a little bit more leniency going on, a spring change for the number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac, but at least that's setup based. And I'm seeing more preparation going on with the 2 Acura GTP cars. The 10 is in the pits right now. The 40 looks like it's on a long run, but they are preparing for it to come in the, relatively near future.
So here's what I can see through the binoculars of the number 4 car. They've got a handful of tie wraps that they are about to deploy and a set of snippers to clip the ends off. Right in front of them, the 26 BMW GTP car's got the engine cover off and has been there for a wee while. And again, not a huge amount of urgency, but we've still got 33 minutes to go. Both the Penske Porsches are in. The rear deck has just gone back on the 7. The front end, all of the front bodywork is off the 6. It looks like they might be doing something with the reservoirs. The brake reservoirs are there, I think, on that car. Maybe making a suspension change there. So this is an interesting time. That's down in the pedal box that they're working there. And that's really interesting. This is the number 6, the white striped car. As the number 7, the black pinstripe car, is still there. The Corvette, 2 pits further up, the number 4 car, is just leaving. So what is going on here? Everybody's just having a bit, hang on, it's tea time. 3:30. Let's get the cakes out. They've got the setup equipment, actually. Now, I've just seen that on both. They're stringing the car in the pit lane. I've not seen that before. They've got the wheel centres. Shea, just turn around and have a quick look at the 6, because it looks to me as though they've got the setup equipment.
Those are the brake coolers.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. So they're discs that they have that fit perfectly on the brakes, and it completely encompasses the rotor. And it's just a fan. It's a Penske thing. They actually brought it out with the Acura GTI back when they showed up in.
So what's the mechanic doing in the footbox of the number 6?
Let's see.
He's been in there for a while. It looks like excuse me. I'm a very long way away.
Yes, you are. Let's see. What does she have her hands on?
Looks like something going crossways in the car. Is it steering rack or something like that?
No, it's actually electronic.
Ooh.
Plugging something back in. There are several different switches down there, and it looks like maybe one came loose. Oh no, she's got a screwdriver of sorts. It's the wrong word for it, but they did do a shock change at the front of the car, and she's screwing it back in. That's what it was. Shock change on the right front.
Thank you. Meanwhile, the general work is going on the number 7 car. Both doors are open. The deck is back on the rear of the car. The BMW is still standing still. Number 25 with the deck off the car. There's a bit of a powwow going on the pit wall. They've taken something off and they're looking at it, or right? Shea is there. What's going on there? There was a bit of a team meeting.
Shock change.
Okay.
Yep, it is the time for the shock changes.
Okay, fine. 30 minutes to go for the pro cars, 15 for the non-pros. Oh yeah, they're doing the back in, and a spin for the Iron Lynx number 60. Oh, this is the Lamborghini.
Claudio
the yellow car.
Schiavone again. It's not been his afternoon.
This is a GTD Pro car sitting 11th in its class, but with an awful lot of GTDs ahead of it. In fact, there's only one GTD Pro behind him, and that's not been out in this session.
Important track time, I think, for Claudio to get up the pace in this Lamborghini.
Also important track time for everybody to be on track. The sun's starting to go down now, although it's come out back from behind the crowds. The track temperature is 99 Fahrenheit, 81 in the air. That is 37 Celsius and 27 in the air. So it stayed fairly... I tell you what, if it's like this at the weekend, this is going to be very interesting. Tyre management is going to be very interesting. Claudio Schiavone is off and running with the car pointing in the right direction. Comes to the curbs at the Le Mans chicane. All good. We have two green cars having a wee bit of a scrap at the moment. The 17 AWA Corvette and the 43 Porsche having a little look then. Through also goes the number 1 in the BMW, which is the Paul Miller racing car. Who was that in the Porsche who was looking very racing indeed?
Scott Hargrove in the Andretti Porsche.
That answers that one.
Number 1 BMW, Brian Sellers. IMSA veteran. Reigning GTD champion, of course. That Paul Miller BMW looks fantastic with the white, red and black and the red GTD number board on the side. GTD Pro number board, excuse me. That team, of course, winning the GTD championship last year, and they've moved up to Pro for this year.
That's right, Peter. With the same lineup, they ran in, as you say, GTD last year. The same lineup will be competing in the full championship this season. Madison Snow and Brian Sellers, and despite the fact that, Madison's now been taken on as a factory driver, hasn't it, with BMW? So they've moved up to GTD Pro. Really, great move by Paul Miller. Just he's such a good guy, and he just shows he's just comfortable with every aspect of that organisation. It runs really, really well. They had a stellar season last season with a record 5 wins on the year. Mitchell Simmons is a team manager there. And, the whole team's been together a long time, and bringing in for this weekend for the long distance races 2 drivers, both under 25 years of age, being with Neil Verhagen and Sheldon van der Linde. It's a stout lineup.
Porsche number 7 is back together, but is going back behind the wall, being pushed backwards away. That was the one that had the rear deck off. Now the 6 still got the front end off and the rear deck now, and also in getting what looks like suspension changes, the Acura number 10, the slightly brighter blue and more of the blue on the car this year, but still shiny blue and shiny black, with the number 10 WTR by Andretti Autosport, or with Andretti Autosport in there. Quick note from Elif Filipponi, says devil's advocate here, just not allowing Merc or Audi in WEC extend to the auto invites for Le Mans. If they want off entries for Le Mans and the cars they campaign a GT3 homologated, why say no? It does extend to that and to the ELMS as well. It's only the Asian Le Mans Series and ACO competition that allows those cars in. I do sort of understand, if you've made that decision, I do understand them not being at Le Mans as the only race of the season, because the opportunity for a snafu on the balance of performance could draw cries of foul from your full season entrants. But there's so much to talk about there and to unpack. I'm disappointed, is all I'm going to say with that. I don't think it has been handled the best way it could be, and I don't think it's the best outcome that it could be, if I'm honest. Like I say, the issue is that Hypercar and GTP has been so successful, there simply isn't enough room for GTs, for a full and representative GT field in WEC. And that's the problem. Start, beginning and end. And it's a lovely problem to have, but no doubt it is a problem. Now, when we had the man at the head of the WEC, Frederick Lequian, on Midweek Motorsport at the end of last season, he said, it's not forever, it's for now, it's being looked at all the time, and if we can find a way to reassess that, we will.
El Bamber now at the wheel of the number 4 Pratt Miller Corvette. Yes, El Bamber in a Corvette, raced against them for so many years in his time at Porsche, but of course now much more affiliated with GM brands, races the Cadillac V-Series in the World Endurance Championship, and previously drove the Cadillac DPI, and he actually came into the Cadillac fold via Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon sent him an Instagram message. So Scott
into his
he
DM.
slid straight into his DMs.
That was the course.
Yeah.
Heard that yesterday on Midweek.
And said, we want to have a chat, and they did, and the rest is history, as they say. And Earl was telling me just how much he's enjoying this Corvette. This, of course, brand new Z06, Z06, excuse me, GT3R, and he really wants to take it to Macau. Wouldn't that be a sight? I don't think Corvette have ever been to Macau before. You might have seen a Callaway Corvette there before, but certainly not a factory car.
I want to see them at the Nürburgring.
Well, who knows? Let's wait and see. But of course, Earl, a big fan of Macau. That's one he's still trying to win. He's a big fan of here too, and another one he's still trying to win. There's not many gaps in his CV, but those are 2 of them.
10 Acura from WTR with Andretti back to its paddock space, pushed back by its gap. That's where the number 7 went as well. Shea Adam has been talking to Porsche Penske Motorsport.
They ran through their run plan. They got everything done that they wanted to, and they used up all the tires that they wanted to during this session. So there's no urgency down there. The mechanics were very calmly gathering their things. Drivers walked back to the garage. They're pretty content at this stage.
Okay. I suppose you can find out enough. There's some nighttime running to come when the temperatures drop down tonight. I suspect we won't see people running for some of the teams won't run the whole amount of that as well. Up on the banking, customer Porsche JDC with the banana boat, the yellow submarine 85. I tell you what, that car's quick in a straight line, because the 01 Cadillac, the gold fronted car, had a much better run out of the Le Mans chicane, but could not drag by through the tri-oval and down to turn 1. Now cuts back to the inside. Yeah, more wing on the 01. Very plain to see that.
The engine in that Cadillac, the way they're able to just get out the corner, it seems to just be so drivable. Just watched earlier on this morning in the first session, the Cadillac 01 was being chased by one of the Acuras, and it just drove away. Just really nice drivable traction on that Cadillac. What an attribute to have for a race of this style.
You've got to get the balance right here, and it's a tough compromise to find here. Conventional wisdom would tell you that the long fast bits into the high braking, you want to be quick through there, because that's where you'll make up positions. But if you roll up too much downforce, you actually use your tyres more, Jeremy, on the twisty bits on the infield. And I said, it's a far more nuanced track than people give it credit for. And it's probably, out of all the tracks we go to, it's one of the hardest to make that decision for, particularly on the prototypes.
True. And we were talking about it this morning, weren't we, that tyre management is going to be absolutely critical to the eventual outcome of this race, I believe, at the weekend, with the limited number of tyres that they have, and you're having to double stint the tyres, which wasn't a regular feature in recent years, other than very occasionally. But with the new sort of sustainability, if you like, that Michelin and IMSA in general has adopted over the last several years, you had a lot less tyres on hand for the teams to use, and how you use them and how you look after those tyres during the stints, particularly when you're going to have to double stint them. It's going to be really, really interesting, and something that some drivers are much better at than others.
Yeah.
By the way, is this an IndyCar race that we've got going on right now? I was just looking at the top of the charts. Two drivers in the lead two cars at the moment. Alex Palou is driving the number 01 Cadillac. Renger van der Zande set that fastest time in that car much earlier in the session. In fact, we haven't seen any quick laps for quicker lap times for quite a while. And now in the number 7 car that's in second position is Joseph Newgarden.
Except, Jeremy, last time around, another IndyCar driver, one Scott McLaughlin, put the fastest time in for the Orica Tower Motorsports number 8. Just basically to follow on with your theme there.
Yeah, brilliant. So we've got the reigning IndyCar champion is in the car that is currently running fast. This is 01 Cadillac, that yellow and black car. In second position is the reigning Indy 500 champion Joseph Newgarden, the number 7 Porsche. And as you say, moving up to fourth position, LMP2.
Championship, isn't he?
And fourth fastest overall is another full-time IndyCar driver at the moment, and the two-time defending champion in this race, Tom Blomqvist, who's not driving Acura, of course, this year. He's driving none other than the car that won the championship last year, the Whelen Engineering Cadillac.
It just shows you when you've got the teams involved in sports car, when you've got Roger Penske, Chip Ganassi, Bobby Rahal. It's no surprise, Michael Andretti. It's no surprise that we're seeing these drivers coming in, and the connections that are there. And Alex Palou, he's bear in mind that IndyCar is his full-time drive, if you like. But when he comes here, last Rolex 24-hour appearance in 2022, he set the fastest lap of the race, and in the roar, out 3 of the 6 sessions, he was the fastest driver in that car.
Yeah, and he's just done a 135.761 in that 01 car. Which is less than a tenth of a second away from the best time set in this session in that car by Renger van der Zande. And just to show what sort of a feel we have here, Brendan Hartley, how many times has he won the World Endurance Championship now?
4.
Is it
4, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
4.
2 Le Mans wins, I think, isn't it?
Yes.
He's at the wheel number 10 car for WTR Andretti, and the former Formula 1 world champion Jenson Button is at the wheel of the the sister car, number 40 of WTR Andretti.
And that's Mathieu Jaminet, multiple winner all over the place for Porsche. He's out there. Nick Yellerly, Nürburgring winner. Who else have we got out there when we look in that? There's talent right through all the classes here, isn't there?
Yeah.
Oh, Matt Brabham, actually. First time we've mentioned him. He's out for AO Racing in the Orica, number 99 car.
Yeah.
Welcome to the championship, Matt.
Absolutely. It'll be his
Super Truck champion, amongst other things.
Amongst other things. Yeah, boy, talk about versatility. Matt
Jet
will
skis.
drive anything.
Did not race jet skis last year as well.
Oh, yeah, well, his mom is a very accomplished jet ski champion, has been for years and years and years.
Wow.
And she's still doing it, actually. Good for you, Rosina. Superstar.
Love it. Into the pit lane for the darker red this year high-class racing car. This is with the Mark Kwame's racing team as well. They've sort of come together this year. So that is now MDK by High Class Racing. MDK is Mark Kwame. Runs cars in the championship as well. Just a quick note on some of the other cars at the sharp end of the field. Jakub Smirkovsky is behind the wheel of the Inter Europol by PR1 Matheson at the moment. That is the 52 car that heads LMP 2 times. GTD, MDK Motorsports for GTD with their Porsche, just mentioned there. It's Anders Fjord back behind the wheel of that car. Actually, it's not because he's in the pit lane, but he brought it in. Also, Gianmarco Liverato has been out in the Proton Ford as well. Get used to that name in that number 55 GTD car. And it's Martin Kirchhofer, the Pfaff Motorsports in the McLaren. I think he's the only driver in that team, a team of all talents, that has experience in that car. And he's being he's having to be mentor to James Hinchcliffe and the other drivers there.
He will, yes. He is the McLaren Works driver, so that definitely matches up. Oliver Jarvis, his last GT drive was back in 2020 when he was a Bentley boy.
Well, and Oliver Jarvis did a lot of the development going back a bit further on the Audi R8s.
Yeah.
The GT3 R8s, I remember seeing footage of him at Monza running without the first chicane in at Monza in an R8. Did a lot of the development there, came through the Audi program, very well thought of as a development driver as well as a highly accomplished racer, of course. Is for Mazda as well in the prototypes. Was qualifying lap record holder till last Sunday.
Won here 11 years ago in that Audi in the Rolex 24. So knows his way around, to say the very least.
Well, there's Alexander Rossi and James Hinchcliffe in that car. We're talking about IndyCar stars as well, which Jeremy was earlier on.
Yeah, I think there's 14 of the NTT IndyCar Series regulars are going to be in this field this weekend. Yeah, 14 out of 27, I guess, is going to be.
Wow,
more than
over half of the field.
Moment or two ago, more racing action. Dragon 81 car, a little bit of side-by-side. It's the 22 again. The United Autosport car. And this time with Felix Rosenqvist behind the wheel. One of the aforementioned IndyCar full-timers.
And he was quickest. They just started testing this week, didn't they, down at presumably Sebring.
Yes.
And I think he was quickest on one of the days. At least I didn't see what happened on the second day.
That United number 22 car, Peter, that's a strong. I mean, both of them are strong lineups, but that's
there's not many weak ones, though.
Yeah, well, that is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
We were thinking about recording a preview, but for this race, we sort of do the preview as we're going along. It builds through the races. But I had a feeling that all we would say is, well, this car's with a chance of a podium or better. What about this car? Well, that car's... I mean, it's insane. Yeah. 59 cars and maybe a handful, 5 or 6 right across the field that you would say that you might think, well, I'm not sure that they could get a podium, but, they could look into it.
I would say the number 2 United car would be my pick if I had to. You're splitting hairs, but only because you have a mandated bronze driver in LMP2 and the car number 2 has Ben Keating. So that is a heck of an ace car to have. Ben Hanley, who won this race in LMP2 with Dragon Speed 3 years ago. Nico Pino, very fast silver, and then Pato O'Ward, who won the LMP2 class 2 years ago at the Rolex 24. Yeah. So they've really packed that out.
They have, but number 52 team with that association now between Inter Europol and PR1 Matheson Motorsports. Nick Boole, who hadn't been in a prototype car for. Saw him on Sunday evening after his qualifying run. It was 7 or 8 years since he's been in a prototype car. He was within a tenth of a second of Ben Keating.
That was incredible.
Yes.
And listen, we talk about all the international.
And he reckoned there was a little bit more in the car.
Oh, did he? Good for him. We talk about all the international stars that are coming from other series, but we just saw flash by underneath us the 74 Riley Run Orica. Gar Robinson behind the wheel. Bit of homegrown talent there, Jeremy, who's again, he's earned his way, he's fought his way, he's grafted his way up. My, what a fast driver he is.
Yeah, no, he is, absolutely, and just getting better and better and better, and particularly the more time he has in prototypes. He also did a good job in qualifying the other day on his P2 debut, having won a couple of championships now in LMP3. But it's 4 years ago that Nick Boole last drove a prototype car, but since he ran this race last year in a last year
GT car,
all he's done since then is a couple of Porsche Sprint Cup Challenge races in a Cayman, I think. That's the only two. It's the only time at the wheel of a car since this time last year. Very, very, very impressive.
Right, let's have a quick look at what's going out on the track at the moment, because we've got the number. Hang on, which league turns through the far side? That's got the blue, so that's number 24 BMW prototype being chased down by the number 6 Porsche, which is back running again. The 7 went behind the wall, if you remember, done its run plan. So 24 BMW is Philipp Eng. 6 Porsche is Mathieu Jaminet, and then right behind them is the JDC car with Tymon van der Helm behind the wheel. And we've got Porsche and BMW side by side, with the BMW and that purple front end defending into the Le Mans chicane, taking the middle of the road there. Now, that's interesting. This is all good data, not just for the engineers, Jeremy. The drivers here will be logging this away. What can I get away with? Where can I force an error? Where can I get up the outside of somebody? Into the tri-oval now. Here comes the Porsche, down to the inside, switches to the outside, across the line. The Porsche would have got the decision if it had been the checkered flag. Sweeps round the outside and into turn 1 on a very wide line for Mathieu Jaminet, but gets the pass, I would say, in inverted commas, done. But that's not the end of it. The BMW very nimble through the chicane and down towards the international horseshoe. Tymon van der Helm just marking his time at the moment and taking a bit of a watching brief. 10 or 15 cars behind, and now the Porsche stretches its leg on the infield, Peter. That was an interesting lap and a half.
The 963 Porsche clearly has good straight line speed, because as you rightly said, that Porsche 963 of Mathieu Jaminet won the race to the line, but came into the bus stop second, effectively.
Yeah, and on the wrong line, really.
Okay, the BMW kind of parked it a little bit on the middle of the chicane, so it didn't have the best exit, but you saw all the way around the banking the 963 of Mathieu Jaminet just setting that move up really nicely. So I think that's going to be a really important attribute to have for that Porsche. Jenson Button circulating at the moment in the number 40 Dex Imaging Acura. Is one of the best looking cars in the field with that black and red. It looks just mean.
Jenson was saying last night, actually, just how tough it is to swap between two different manufacturers, because he was out testing in Bahrain last week with the Porsche 963. He's here this weekend for Acura, of course, and he said the problem is there's quite a lot of similarities in the cockpit, but none of the steering wheel buttons are in exactly the same place or do exactly the same things. So swapping between them, he said that broadly speaking, the driving style is the same, and that's not the issue. It's just the little fine-tuning that you have to do with all of these cars, and it takes him just a wee while to get his head into the right. Hang on, no, that's the right-hand thumb wheel, not the left-hand thumb wheel.
Spare a thought for Brendan Hartley, who's going from a Le Mans hypercar in the Toyota GR010 to the Acura. I believe he's the only driver who's done that, is switched platforms from hypercar to the LMDH as it's known. Jenson Button driving with glasses on. Never used to do that, did he?
No.
He's getting older. I did not say that. I didn't say that.
No. You've got for an international license.
43, 44. That's about right, isn't it?
Well, I'm still going.
He's just had his birthday, actually. His birthday was just the other day.
The international license, you have to have a medical every year, and once you get to a certain age, you've got to have a stress ECG, but absolutely must have 20/20 vision. So it's not about what you can see for driving on the road, it's got to be 20/20. 20/20 corrected, but it has to be 20/20. So quite a lot of, it doesn't have to be much off to be a bit off. And I am very fortunate that for some reason, my eyes have not deteriorated as much as people of my age. I still like driving in the dark as well. Always had good night vision. And the last time I had my medical, I got through.
It's great to see that Jensen has kept driving after, had an amazing F1 career and over a very long period of time. And he's kept driving, he's kept himself involved, a lot of which in endurance racing, but he's done a NASCAR road course race and various other bits and pieces. That's a sign of a true racer, in my opinion.
And this drive, in fact, actually the Porsche drive at Petit Le Mans last year, which is sort of led to him being involved with Porsche, the 963 in the World Endurance Championship, and this one all came out of that Garage 56, Project 56 ZL1 Camaro. Mike Rockefeller, Rocky, getting him in with the guys from JDC at the back end of last year, and Jimmy Johnson, I believe, that
Jordan Taylor.
Jordan Taylor, because he was the coach, wasn't he?
Yes.
Jordan Taylor, who was the coach, getting him in to this one when they knew they were going to have two cars. Nice to see the Mustang sampling colours back in IMSA, and they really suit the 963, Peter.
You bet they do, and this is the first outing for Porsche factory driver Alessio Piccarello, who really made his name. Actually, he moved over to Asia and really went through the Porsche Asia Young Driver program. He's from Belgium, but really made the most use of opportunities there. But this is his first drive in the Porsche 963, so he'll have heard all his colleagues talking about it. He'll have been at the fitness camps and heard them going, "Oh, I'm testing the 963 next week," and he'll be going, "Oh, have fun." But now he gets his chance, and he's with some certified Porsche legends there. Neil Yanni, Le Mans winner in the 919. Romain Dumas, I mean, the stories are just of what Romain's done in his career, and
in and out of Porsches,
all over the place
Porsches,
in any kind of car.
Most latterly, he's become a bit of an electric vehicle expert with the
Ford Supervan.
The Ford Supervan 2.0, which I'm very excited about. That's coming down to Bathurst, actually, to do some demo laps. All electric.
Oh, my.
Yeah. Oh, my. Although it says a lot about me, as much as I'm looking forward to Bathurst and the 12 hours, one of the two biggest pieces of news that Krillsy's fired my way recently is that the Ronald McDonald House is going to be the charity again for that 12 hours, which means we get a Mac Cafe, a portable Mac Cafe, comes and sits in the parking area where we park up. So as we walk through on the way, we can get some barista-made coffee, and also that the local brewery has been made a sponsor as well. 3 minutes to go. Reckless Brewing in Bathurst in the old railway buildings. Bathurst with a huge railway history, and the guys there have been made the official beer of the race. You've got to love a race that has an official beer. They do their own canning on site. Grabbing a can just before the top goes on, it's one of the greatest things that you can do at a brewery.
Yeah, talk about Long Beach Grand Prix also, they always have an official beer.
Good.
And bit of news that came out last night at the Road Racing Drivers Club members dinner here at Daytona is that for the last 15 years now there's been a dinner. The club hosts a dinner prior to the Long Beach Grand Prix, and the featured guest this year is going to be none other than Sir Jackie Stewart.
Oh, brilliant.
Of course, with very close ties to Rolex, the sponsor this weekend, and Jackie's going to be at the Masters golf tournament the previous weekend in Augusta, Georgia, and he's going to come over to Long Beach and be our featured guest for the Thursday night dinner. So we'll be more details on that will be coming out fairly soon, but that was announced last night by the RDC president, Bobby Rahal.
My favourite, excuse me, John. My favourite story about Jackie Stewart is he has his left cuff is made. All his shirts are custom made. His left cuff is made ever so slightly bigger, so his Rolex timepiece, if he's being photographed, will
stick out.
Yeah. Little details.
Absolutely. Jeremy, I'm right. So big lock up at the far end of the circuit. That was at the National Hairpin Horseshoe. Alex Pallo just needing a bit of cadence braking to get the caddy to turn in.
He's been turning a string of fast laps.
That was great driving though. Do you know, he still got to the apex. That's outstanding there because the unloaded tyre was locked up. And he came off the brakes and straight back on.
He's quite good, this kid, isn't he?
He would have felt that. Just Sir Jackie Stewart at the RRDC on the Thursday night of of Long Beach weekend. RIDC supports, among other things, Team USA, but that is an event that's open to anybody. If you want to put your money down, you can buy your table.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, true enough. And it also proceeds from this evening, in addition to Team USA Scholarship and the RRDC's Safe is Fast driver development online video library, Race for Dementia, which is the charity very, very close to Jackie's heart, will be the major beneficiary from that event as well.
Good.
So,
excellent stuff.
Excitement.
Yes, awful disease. Checker flag is out, and seeing it first is Alex Palou, who goes through. And that car has the fastest time. And my goodness, he was close to it there. 9/1,000ths of a second away from the fastest time of the day. So Alex Palou with the second quickest time of the day in the car that's got the first quickest time of the day.
Because he set the fastest.
Did he put the fastest one in as well?
Yeah,
right,
about
okay.
eight laps ago. It's been a stellar stint.
Wow.
By Alex Palou, the quickest time of day, 1:35.589. He did that on the 40th of the 48 laps that car has competed in this session.
Oh yes, yeah. Sorry, I'd missed that. Gone out to 0.135 of a second ahead of the first of the Porsche Penske Motorsport machines. That was the number 7. Then one of the customer Porsches from Proton. That was the number 5. That was another 0.030, 0.034 to the Wayland Cadillac, number 31, 0.042. To matches Yamaha in the Porsche.
Catching the trend here?
I am seeing this. 0.137 to Nick Yellowly, who has just taken the checkered flag in the number 25 BMW from the Team RLL. 0.093 to Tymon van der Helm in the JDC Miller car. We'll do all of the prototypes. Then it was 0.344. 0.183 to the second BMW and 0.218. So 1.2 seconds for the GTP field. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Pretty good, isn't it? And 7 of them inside half a second.
It was Inter Europol who captured the top spot in LMP2. They got it early. They kept it from Dragon Speed in second and CrowdStrike by APR in third. Then Tower, Riley, and the first of the Uniteds was the number 22 car with their number 2 very close behind. And those 7 car within, again, just within a second or so. And the fastest time put in by Clement Novalak. Is that right, Jeremy?
Yeah, he did.
That was
very
quite
impressive.
early on, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was on lap 12. That car did 46 laps total in the session. It was just after, I think, the GGP cars joined the session. So around about 15 minutes or so into that 1 hour and 45 minutes.
The GTDs, 7 of them ahead of the first of the pros. MDK Motorsport had the fastest time on a 47.0. Then Proton Competition with the 55 Mustang. Conquest with the 296 Ferrari, the 34 car. The only real issue we saw was the McLaren, which had to... in fact, that's just come through. Okay, that's fine. Marvin Kirchhofer was the first of the GTD pros. There we go. In 4th position. He was greyed out. That's why I didn't see him. Then Turner Motorsport with their GTD 96 car. Nicky Team and Magnus Racing in the Aston, the number 44. Next up, and the top 10 GTs made up by Lone Star Racing. Sally Yolick in that car when it pitted with 15 minutes of the second session to go, the number 80. In 8th, 7th in class for Wright Motorsport in the 120. And then it's a couple of pro cars to finish up the top 10. Reese's Ferrari and AO Racing, which will be on pole. Seb Prio set the time for the 77 AO Racing. Rexy will be on top. Thank you to Jeremy and to PMAC. Shea Adam was our CrowdStrike pit reporter. She'll be joining me soon here in the booth as we get ready for our first race of race week. It's the Wayland Mazda MX-5 Cup presented by Michelin, and it's next, live from Daytona.
Well, thanks to IMSA Radio as well for coverage of the second practice session in the build-up to the 24 hours of Daytona. Well, we'll be back for the third practice session in around about 2.5 hours' time here on YouTube and Twitch. So make sure you join us for that. But from the end of this session, we've had an hour 45 of a full running. Alex Palou for Cadillac Racing is top at the moment on a 135.589. Thanks for your company. We'll see you later on for practice 3. Bye for now.